I'm going to be showing you how you could create a factory to represent specialization. You could create something else, but I've chosen a factory. And looking at these pictures, it seems that they have tall chimneys, they're quite angular buildings, there are some round cylindrical buildings that are used to store goods. So that's what I'm going to include in my building. I need to decide on a set of dimensions, and I think because I want a fairly tall chimney, and factories are quite spread out, then I'm going to choose this one. 45 millimeters by 25 millimeters in width and up to 50 millimeters in height. Gone over to Tinkercad and I've clicked on create. And the first thing I'm going to do is change the size of my grid as a visual reminder of the maximum dimensions. I'm also going to change it from 1 millimeter to 2 millimeters on snap to grid, and that makes things easier to move around, snap together. So let's make a base, and let's start off with this shape here, and let's have our maximum dimensions, and then the rest of the building can be put on top. It's that more or less on top of the work plane. Let's reduce this to about 2 millimeters and zoom in. Now, I need some angular buildings. So let's put the work plane on the base, and let's put a building here, and let's make that slightly smaller, and we can have another one adjacent to it. This one could be slightly larger, and then coming out of the top here I could have some chimneys. So I'm going to group all of this by clicking Control A, Control G, and that means that now moves around as one shape. And the total size is 14 millimeters. So that's only just smaller than 1.5 centimeters. This is still very small, so I could put a couple of chimneys up here, and I can make them quite large. And in fact, I could have a cylindrical one, and that'd be 4x4. I wouldn't make it any smaller than that, because if they are very fine, they're likely to snap. You could also choose to have a conical one. It's up to you. And in here, if you click on shape, you can also play around with the top and bottom radius. That didn't work. So if we click on 2, there we go. So that looks more like a chimney. Once we've got that, we could include some silos over here. So let's put the work plane back on the surface where we'd like our silos to appear. And if I scroll up, here's a cylinder, and make that quite low, maybe this size, and I could put another one, so I can Control T, Control V, and that will copy that shape, and I could have an identical size, or I could adjust it so it's slightly smaller. Let's have that one 7x7. Using the arrow keys is probably the easiest way to move things around. And then once I've done that, I can add some features if I like. So if I wanted to add a doorway, then all I'd need to do is, if this were the front of my building, so to speak, so I group all of this, Control A, Control G, and then with my box, make this very small. Use these white handles to reduce the size, and then using the arrow keys, I'll just push that inside here, and that is a hole. And you'll see that when I do Control A, Control G, then that actually makes what looks like a door by making a hole in the side of the building. And you could repeat the process down here, for example, if you would like to create some windows or another door. So once I've done that, and I've done Control A, Control G, let's just check on the maximum height. And that was 30, and I could have made it up to 50 millimeters high. I might readjust it slightly to 44. Rename it. And once you've done that, you're ready to send it for 3D printing.